morning, Abby dog. How are you doing, sweetie? I just heard you barking before I came out. I know there were some late night coyotes just as we were getting up this morning that were making a lot of ruckus, and I heard both you and Toby dog barking at them. All right, let's start the day. And I've actually got something sad to talk to you guys about today. We had another death on the farm, and it was a little bit long time coming, but in my opinion, it doesn't make it any less sad either. Good morning, young adult chickens. Rise and grind. So yeah, these guys are basically getting to be full-grown chickens at this point. Don't slip out, get back in there. Like actually, if you look at this fellow right here, number one, I'm pretty sure he is a rooster. Yeah, I can see some spur development down here, just based on his comb. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be a rooster. But these birds, as you can see, are 100% fully feathered out. They've been fully feathered out for a couple of weeks now. So that means I don't have to worry about them with the cold. They're pretty hardy and rugged. And they also can't fit through this chain link fence, which means they're actually big enough now to enjoy the chicken jungle that I've spent all summer curating and creating. And so yeah, they have this yard now, and they have this yard that they can run around and play in. And since technically chickens are the descendants of jungle fowl, this whole setup feels very appropriate. It's mostly lamb's quarter is what's grown here, which is fine for them to eat. They actually even seem to like it. Also now with the pigs gone, they're the recipients of our apple drops. You'll also notice that there's that one barred rock looking hen that seems much bigger than all of the other chickens. And that's because she's a few weeks or maybe even a month older than them. She was actually one of Deb's kids, but like just the other day I noticed she somehow found her way into that flock. I actually think she might have climbed up and jumped the fence and gotten in that way, and now she's basically joined that flock. And for those who are wondering, our little beehive here of the bees that were living right there, that is actually thriving now. Previously on Goldshaw Farm. You can see this is the good stuff. Try to attach it right to this frame, just like so. And then in terms of Deb's other kids, they're doing well too. All of these regular sized chickens are gonna eventually be put together in one single flock, but I'll probably wait until I move everybody into their winter quarters before I try to bother with that. And while all of those chickens are doing pretty well, sadly we have had a death with one of our weird chickens. Rise and grind, weirdos. So as you guys know, we have this flock of weird chickens on our farm. The weird chickens are different than my regular chickens. The regular chickens I keep for both eggs as well as help control the fly populations with our cattle. But the weird chickens I just kind of keep because they're fun and they're weird and they bring me joy. And while sometimes weird regular sized chickens like Deb or Carmen join into the mix with the weird chickens, most of the weird chickens are either bantam or silky chickens, meaning that they're smaller, meaning they're more fragile, as well as meaning that for some of them, they have what's known as a silky feathering, which is like, unlike a regular bird feather, it almost feels like hair. This is actually one of the weird chickens that my flock hatched out earlier this spring. This bird is the offspring of our hen, Lavender Brown, as well as our silky rooster, Mr. Frizzle. And as you can actually see on the feathering with this bird, notice how it like looks more like hair than like a traditional feather. Like some of the wing feathers kind of look more like regular feathers, but the rest of it is almost like mammal hair. It's a genetic characteristic. You'll also know that they have kind of the weird floofy heads and the larger than normal eyes. And they're really kind of a cool bird, and I really enjoy having them. And again, they don't really do much for the farm other than bring me joy. And as you guys are familiar with the weird chicken of Zen, they do definitely bring me zen. Now my weird chicken flock actually hatched out 5 weird chicks earlier this spring. And while I was hoping that Carmen, my cochin, would crossbreed with Mr. Frizzle, none of them actually seemed to be the offspring of Carmen. And when I talk about Carmen, I'm talking about that black fluffy one right there, who's much larger than a typical silky or bantam chicken. But she's one of my older hens and she is kind of weird. And now of those 5 chicks that hatched, one of them actually died when they were a teenager. It was an accident. It kind of sucks, but again, these are very fragile chickens, and so stuff like that will happen at times. I took another one that I was pretty sure was a rooster and I actually gave it to a friend of mine. And the other 3, who I actually think just went back inside, I'm hoping that they're all hens, and I'll probably keep 2 of them for my flock and give another one to a friend of mine. And Matt, if you're watching this video, I know I owe you a text message, so sorry.
My toxic trait is I only remember to reply to people when I'm not in a position to reply to people.
And so for next year, I'm hoping to have Lavender Brown, as well as 2 of Lavender's kids, plus a new rooster, and they're gonna be my weird chicken breeding crew for next year. Which brings me to my dear friend, Mr. Frizzle. I had already been making plans to actually rehome him to another friend and basically pass his genetics on, because he does have these like weird, interesting, silky genetics, and it could be useful for people who are trying to breed some weird chickens themselves. But pretty much over the past, I don't know, it's been about 12 months, I've noticed that he's had this problem. You see, last fall, I noticed he was starting to develop a tumor on one side of his head, where he looks weird. He had all these like weird carbuncles and stuff on his face, but like he was starting to have like one side of his head start to bulge out. And as I watched him over the course of this summer, that tumor kept getting bigger and bigger. And now you guys might be saying, oh gosh, that's horrible. Why don't you just take him to the vet and check it out and maybe he can get some sort of treatment? But the reality is a couple of things. Number one, I don't even think there's a vet who will do poultry within about a 90-minute drive of the farm. Number two, in terms of what he was dealing with, and I definitely went online and looked it up, and it was definitely a tumor of some sort, and there were tests that you could run, but those tests would be expensive. And then in terms of treatment that could be done with him, it would be like little to nothing. And I could probably spend a couple $1,000s on stuff that would have like a, I don't know, like a 10 to 20% chance of saving him. And yes, I'm pulling that 10 or 20% number out of my brown Fruit Loop, but my point of the fact that it is long odds and it was an unlikely chance that he was going to be saved, that is definitely accurate, and you can ask any vet about that one. And so as time ticked on, I was starting to realize I might need to do something about him other than rehome him. But at the same time, the tumor didn't seem to be really that much of a problem for him. He was still getting around okay. He was still eating and drinking okay. He still seemed like a relatively happy chicken. And so I didn't do anything with him. And so rather than put him down just for the sake of putting him down, I made the decision that I was going to let him live as long as I possibly could, and then eventually put him down if he was seeming like he was suffering or in pain or just really struggling. I think I even mentioned this in a previous video, and I forgot to get back to you guys about it like weeks ago because there was so much else going on in the farm. There's actually a weird health thing I need to talk to you about with our rooster, Mr. Frizzle, but I'll probably save that for a future video. But sadly, just the other day, I was actually doing the evening chicken chores, and he was kind of like passed out over by the food dish. And he seemed like he was having trouble getting up, and when I picked him up and tried to get him moving around, he wasn't moving around much. And so I sadly made the decision to end his life and basically put him down, which really sucks. But when you have a farm and you're taking care of animals, that is actually sometimes the most humane thing you can do, and a thing that you might have to do from time to time, and you just need to be prepared to do it. And I remember when I first started this farm and I butchered my first birds, I had a really hard time with it back in the day. I actually found it soothing for me personally to actually hold them and comfort them as they were dying. It might not have done anything for the duck, but for me as the human, it actually was helpful. But as time goes on and as you lose more animals, and you will definitely lose more animals, I just kind of got used to it. And I don't know, when I did it the other day, it wasn't that big a deal. Not to get too gruesome and graphic, but I just basically did a quick decapitation, and that was that. Ordinarily, when I retire a rooster, I will typically use him for the dinner table. Like, because they're older, the meat's not very good. Like, you can't just throw it on the grill and roast up some chicken. But if you take an old rooster and you stew it up and you make something like coq au vin or some other sort of, you know, slow cooked in liquid type dish, good old roosters, and particularly good old silky roosters, taste phenomenal. But because of Mr. Frizzle's tumor problem, I don't know, I was just really reluctant to turn that into food, and so I actually just put him out on the far back corners of the pasture and just let nature have its way with him. And so yes, sadly, Mr. Frizzle's no more, and I'm in the market and looking for a nice silky rooster to breed with for 2025. And so if anybody has any suggestions or ideas, hit me up, because I'd be interested in it. But please don't be offended if I forget to respond to your email. Whoa, would you look at this fierce jungle cat? What's going on, Pablo, my buddy? So actually, in a couple of weeks, Pablo is going to be celebrating his 10th birthday. Allison's actually thinking of hosting you a party. You're a good boy. Hello, duckery-doos. I'll feed you in a couple of minutes. So you guys remember the mama duck with her little ducklings? It's been a few more days, and I don't know, they just even seem more like ducks, like getting bigger and bigger. And they basically integrate themselves into the rest of the flock at this point. They're a little bit separate still, but getting closer and closer to the rest of the flock. I got a bunch of happy ducks, I can tell that much. Even though one of my happy ducks just dumped an egg in their happy pond water. And when I say happy pond water, I mean disgusting pond water. Now let's check in with our goaty Otises. What's going on, fellas? Here, boys, I'm gonna take you out for a little bit of a walk. So the goats are doing really well. Much like the weird chickens, they don't really do much for our farm other than bring me and Allison joy. Yet sometimes that's more than enough. Isn't that right, Larny Larn? Now folks keep asking about the origin of the goat names, because I've mentioned in previous videos, their names are Telemachus, Barnacus, and the big boy is Larn. And there's been some of you guys who've got it and understood exactly where those names came from, but then others have been like, well, what's the origin of those names? And the answer is actually, if you're familiar with the children's show Bluey, that is actually where they come from.
Can you put this big blue guy to sleep, please? Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep, big Telemachus. Why don't you try the wise old wolfhound, Bluey?
Barnacus.
I mean Barnacus. Well, Bingo. My name is Lon. Well, Lon.
So I used to not be familiar with Bluey because I don't have children. But every time my nephews would come up to the farm and we'd be hanging out at night and I'd say, oh, what do you want to watch on TV? They would say that they wanted to watch Bluey. And so I started watching Bluey with them. At some random point that I don't exactly know when it happened, I would start watching Bluey by myself when they weren't even around. Because most of the episodes are like really short. They're like, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes. It's like the perfect show that if I have like just a quick break and I just want like a mental break and just like change of pace, whether it's like going from a really hard project or I just had a really long conference call or something and I just want like a quick micro dose of something entertaining and enjoyable. It is the perfect thing to watch. Well, in the show Bluey, the kids are often making up fake names for themselves or their friends or their parents. Barnacus, Telemachus, and Larn are all fake names that various characters on the show have used before.
Here's your carrots, Barnacus.
And I don't know if I'm ever gonna get any more goats than these 3, but if I ever did, I think all of those goats will end up getting fake Bluey names. And to preemptively answer the inevitable comment question that's gonna come up, yes, there will probably be a Slabadaba. But I have no immediate plans right now to actually get any more goats, and I'm just enjoying letting these guys basically hang out in there overnight or when I can't supervise them. But then when I can let them out, I let them go free and have them work on just various parts of the farm. As you can see here, they're going to town on what was some burdock and some grass and some ragweed. But I actually have a different intention today too. What I want to try to do is actually train them to use this door. I've actually been thinking about it more and more, and I think I want to let the dogs keep that shed as their winter home. In the colder months when they need some shelter, they will often go into there. And so, I don't know, part of me wants to kind of keep that reserved for them. And then what I would try to do is actually move the goats into the old duck house. Arguably, the biggest reason that I want to do that is the fact that when I designed and built this duck house, I made it in a way so that it would be super easy to clean out. Like, in fact, it even has this like cleaning hatch right here. And so I can just easily sweep all of their straw out. And so in terms of keeping the goat housing clean, this is significantly easier to use than trying to get into that space. Like in that space, I'm having to fork it all out, pull it out, and then cart it away with a wheelbarrow. The dimensions don't even allow me to get a tractor in there. And so it's just a time-consuming task that doesn't make as much sense. But this one would be super easy because I can just basically put a wheelbarrow right underneath that little flappy door and just sweep out the old stuff and put in new stuff. And I don't know, I can do cleanup in about 20 minutes. But if I want them to use this place, I don't know, I gotta first get them comfortable with using the ramp, which I'm pretty sure I can do. Hey, Lauren, can you come here? You guys are agile. I see you jumping and climbing on everything. Come on up, Lauren. Look, Barnacus has the right idea. Barnacus knows what's up. Good job, Barney. I'm gonna push it in just a little further. Telemachus knows what's up too. Come on. Oh, Lauren's up now too. Lauren's still kind of figuring out the ramp. The 2 little guys have it totally figured out. Lauren's still learning. So now these goats are fully trained to the bucket so that they know that the bucket is a good thing. And then they can get up this ramp. The real question is, can I get them in through the door? I was worried that those flaps might spook them a little bit, but if I can normalize the flaps for them and they get used to it, I'm pretty sure they're gonna eventually be able to use this as their house. I'm gonna do this for like every morning for the next week or 2 and see how it goes. I think this is gonna be actually the perfect place for them to live, and I will probably actually build like a permanent or semi-permanent fence around this, and then I can like free range them as I need them in various places during various times of the year. All right, see, Telemachus is now hogging all the food. Kelly, let's get you in a little bit further. Can you get you in a little further? No? Oh, all right. I mean, I know I could probably just take those flaps off, but then I feel like I'd have to put them back on for winter again. So I don't necessarily want to do that. And so I'm just gonna let them keep training up to using this space. I don't know, maybe I should also build a different ramp. I guess that's actually the real thing. It seems a little slippery for them, so maybe even if I just put like little treads on it, that'll help them. I think Telemachus and Barnacus are gonna get this one figured out pretty quickly. I'm not as confident in Larn's abilities here. Hey, Abby dog. All right, we're gonna let you come out. You're hanging out with your jungle chickens. Whenever I try to do goat training, I usually put Abby away because her over-enthusiastic, bossy energy can sometimes overwhelm the goats. So it looks like the goats are still struggling with how this gate works. All right, there you go, there you go. No fussing, no fighting. Yeah, I definitely give them their food in 2 different tracks because they will fight and headbutt each other if I don't. Yeah, you can take that one. The brothers can get that one. Well, maybe Barnacus wants to get in on this action. That's cool. I've also learned that it's important to feed the goats before I feed the ducks and geese, because if I don't, the goats are gonna try to eat a lot of the duck and goose food. All right, I hear you. It's time to feed you guys. You guys weren't supposed to follow me. They followed me a lot. I forgot to lock them up. The goats aren't quite sure what to make of the ducks and geese. The farm where they come from, they have ducks and geese. In fact, they actually had the descendants of our geese. They actually just got rid of them and sent them to another farm. But like, they are used to them, but they're not used to this many of these birds. I think they sometimes find it a little bit overwhelming. Abby, you love your fresh water. Every time you see fresh water poured, you gotta drink it. The geese are like, is our food ready yet? I'm gonna set this down here and let that fill up. Now let's feed the birds real quick. Hopefully the goats don't try to come eat their food. I mean, it's not the end of the world if they try to eat their food, but it's a little annoying. You gotta get out of the food. I'm just gonna dump food on you if you stay there. And how are my heifers doing, huh? You're the sweetest sweetheart. Aw, you're just chewing on your cud right there? You're such a sweetheart, you know that? I got some scratches for you if you want it. I know, you still don't like me and you still don't trust me. I think I would classify Alisby tokeless as my most skittish, most unfriendly bovine. Your water trough looks full enough for the day. I'm gonna disconnect that. And we got more to do. You can see Blind Bean over there. She knows how to follow the other ducks to wherever the food and water is. It's actually pretty brilliant the way she operates and moves around this farm. I'm really impressed with her. She's just a very cool bird. All right, boys, you ready to come back with me? Yeah, see, they're like little puppies. They will follow me pretty much just as closely as Abby Dog does. Like, Abby Dog will always follow me pretty much everywhere. Toby Dog, he really is insistent on posting up in his favorite spot and watching the farm. Like, I've actually noticed some comments lately from newer viewers who ask, like, why does Toby always stay separate than Abby? And the reality is, it's because that's what Toby wants to do. And I don't know, I have so much respect for that dog and love for that dog that I let him do what he wants to do. Abby, hey, tranquila, tranquila. We let Toby Dog do what he wants to do. We don't let Abby Dog do what she wants to do. And you're not allowed to chase those goats. You're not allowed to play with them as much as they might goad you on. You have to be the responsible adult here. You're too old to be doing this stuff. Come on. Oh, it's okay, Varney. Hey, buddy. Yeah, see, Toby was up here watching the chickens, as he usually does. Toby, we're gonna brush you out. Why don't you come with me? All right, and goats, you just kind of range around here, okay? Good morning, Moo Crew. How's everybody doing? Oh, you're ready to move. How you doing there, Betty White? Good to see you. Yeah, the cattle keep doing their thing, moving the chains, eating the grass. It's a beautiful thing to see. We're now starting to get into that point where they're like almost at like the last of grazing certain parts of the farm. And so for like example, this will probably be the last time they come through here this year. Pretty much go down this row and they'll go through here, then actually loop down and go back down that way. I'm very happy with how kind of the grazing with the cattle has gone. I feel like I'm getting better at it. I'm just enjoying it more and more. And at this point, it's definitely my favorite part of farm chores. Hey, cows! Come on, cows, fresh grass, come on. Hey, cows, come on, cows, fresh grass, come on. Now, I can't do my usual cattle dawdling this morning because I have to move the chickens to their new location. So the chicken coop's actually gonna go right here, but we gotta go get them. And my full-size chickens haven't been let out so far this morning because I actually keep their automatic door off on the days that I actually wanna move them to a new location. You deserve a good brushing. Come on. Good boy. There's something extremely satisfying about brushing Toby Dog. It makes me happy and it makes him happy. I usually do Toby Dog, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I might do Abby once. This time of year, she doesn't even need that. With Abby, it's just checking her for burdock and ticks. With Toby, because his coat is so thick, it actually requires more work and cleared out. I know, you don't like it when I get your backside. Yeah, his least favorite spot to get groomed is the backside. You like everything else except for the backside, but I gotta get the backside. That's where some of the worst tangles happen. All right, you're done for the day. You're done for the day. Back inside. Back inside with both dogs. Toby's always got so much zoomy energy too when he gets his brush in. All right, treat for Toby, treat for Abby. They're funny dogs. Of course, it wouldn't really truly be a weird chicken video if I didn't offer you guys some sort of weird chicken moment of zen. Thanks for watching, everybody.